My parents said I was the disappointing daughter and cut me off. 3 years later, my $6 million home proves they were right about one thing. I didn't need them. I tried to make my parents proud from the day I could walk, but in the Harrison family, there was only room for one star, and that spot belonged to my brother Brandon. He was 3 years older, confident in everything they wanted in a child. I was Lena, the quiet one who spent hours sketching in notebooks, while Brandon brought home trophies and business awards. My father, Tom Harrison, owned a mid-sized accounting firm. My mother, Patricia, volunteered at charity events and bragged about Brandon to anyone who would listen. They weren't rich, but they were comfortable enough to give everything to one child while treating the other like an afterthought. Brandon got a new car at 16. I got a lecture about learning to take the bus. He went to a prestigious business school with all expenses paid. I worked 3 part-time jobs to afford community college, then transferred to a state university for graphic design. The pattern was clear, but I kept hoping it would change. Maybe if I proved myself, they would see my worth. I was so wrong. The dinner that changed everything happened on a Tuesday night in March. I was 22, finishing my final semester of college. My bank account was empty and my tuition bill was due in 2 weeks. I had exhausted every option, applied for every scholarship, and picked up extra shifts at the campus bookstore. Nothing was enough. I sat at the long oak dining table, my parents on either side, Brandon across from me, scrolling through his phone. I had practiced my speech for days, rehearsing every word to sound responsible and grateful. Mom, Dad, I need to talk about something important, I started, my voice shaking slightly. My father looked up from his newspaper. My mother paused with her fork halfway to her mouth. I'm $5,000 short for this semester's tuition. I've tried everything, but I can't cover it alone. Could you possibly help me? I'll pay you back after graduation, I promise. The silence that followed felt like drowning. My mother's face tightened. My father set down his newspaper with a heavy sigh that said everything before he opened his mouth. Lena, we've talked about this, he said, his tone cold and measured. You chose to study art and design. That was your decision, not ours. We warned you it wasn't practical. It's graphic design, Dad. It's a real career. Companies need designers. Companies need accountants and business managers, my mother interrupted. Brandon understood that. He made smart choices. You chose to follow some dream that won't pay the bills. I felt my chest tighten. I'm not asking for a gift. Just a loan. I'll pay back every cent. My father shook his head. The answer is no, Lena. You need to learn responsibility. Figure it out yourself. Brandon didn't even look up from his phone. He had heard this conversation before, or once like it, and it never concerned him. 2 days later, I opened Instagram and saw the post that shattered what was left of my hope. My mother had uploaded 3 photos of Brandon standing beside a gleaming black BMW. The caption read, "So proud of our successful son. Hard work pays off. Proud parents for our BMW life." The car cost $45,000. I knew because Brandon had tagged the dealership and the price was listed right there in the comments where friends congratulated him. I stared at my phone screen until the words blurred. They couldn't loan me $5,000 to finish college, but they could buy Brandon a luxury car worth 9 times that amount. The math was simple. The message was clear. I called my father that evening, my hands trembling as I held the phone. I saw Brandon's new car, I said, keeping my voice steady. Isn't it beautiful? He worked so hard for it. You bought it for him. He earned it, Lena. He's building a real future. The words came before I could stop them. And what am I building? My father's answer came without hesitation, cold and final. We invest in winners, Lena, not dreamers. Brandon knows where he's going. You're still figuring it out, and we can't keep throwing money at maybes. Something inside me broke in that moment. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet snap, like a thread pulled too tight for too long. I understand, I said softly. Good. Now, maybe you'll start making better choices." I hung up without saying goodbye. That night, I packed everything I owned into 2 suitcases and 4 cardboard boxes. My roommate, Jess, watched from the doorway, confused. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Somewhere they'll never have to worry about me again?" I left a note on the refrigerator at my parents' house the next morning while they were at church. It said only, "You'll never have to invest in me again? Lena." Then I blocked their numbers, deleted my social media accounts, and disappeared. My new apartment was in the cheapest part of town, a 1-room studio with flickering lights and a bathroom door that didn't close properly. The rent was $350 a month, which was all I could afford after dropping out of college $5,000 short of my degree. I worked mornings at a coffee shop called Bean There, making lattes for business people who barely looked at me. The owner, Mr. Pacheco, was kind but couldn't pay much. I made $8 an hour plus tips, which usually added up to maybe $20 extra a day. Nights, I worked at a grocery store stocking shelves. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I arranged cans and boxes in perfect rows, my mind numb from exhaustion. I got home around midnight most nights, ate instant ramen, and collapsed into bed. My life had become small and gray, but it was mine. Nobody told me I was disappointing. Nobody compared me to Brandon. The silence was lonely, but it was better than feeling worthless. 3 months into my new life, I broke down completely. It was a Friday night, and I was counting coins on my bed to see if I had enough for rent. The total came to $312. I was $38 short, and payday wasn't until Wednesday. I sat there on my mattress on the floor, surrounded by nickels and dimes, and whispered the words I had been avoiding. They were right. I'll never make it. The tears came hard and fast. I cried for the daughter I used to be, the one who believed effort mattered. I cried for the $5,000 that would have changed everything. I cried for the BMW I would never get, not because I wanted it, but because of what it represented. Then, as suddenly as the tears started, they stopped. I wiped my face, opened my old laptop that barely worked, and made a decision. If I was going to fail, I would fail on my own terms. But I wasn't going to fail. At the coffee shop, I had become friends with Maya Torres, a woman in her 30s who came in every morning for a black coffee and a blueberry muffin. She always worked on her laptop in the corner, typing quickly and talking on video calls about websites and clients. One morning, she noticed my sketchbook behind the counter. I had been doodling during a slow period, designing a logo for an imaginary company. "Did you draw that?" Maya asked, leaning over to see. I nodded, embarrassed. "It's nothing. Just practice." "That's really good. Like, professional good. Have you ever done freelance work?" I shook my head. "I don't even know how that works." Maya smiled. "Meet me after your shift. I'll show you." That afternoon, she taught me about freelancing platforms, how to set up profiles, and how to pitch to clients. She explained pricing, portfolios, and how to turn my sketches into paid work. "You're not overreacting by cutting off your family," Maya said suddenly. "You're protecting your peace. Trust me, I did the same thing 5 years ago. Best decision I ever made." My first client paid me $50 for a simple logo. It took me 3 hours to design, going through 12 different versions until the client was happy. When the payment hit my account, I stared at the notification for 10 minutes. $50. It wasn't much, but I had earned it with my skills, not my hands stocking shelves or making coffee. Someone had paid me for my art, for the thing my parents called impractical. I messaged Maya immediately. "I got paid." Her response came seconds later. "That's just the beginning. Keep going." So I did. Every night after my shifts, I worked on freelance projects. Business cards, social media graphics, website headers. The jobs were small, but they added up. $50 became $100, then $200, then $500 a week. I learned everything I could about design software, color theory, and branding. YouTube became my university. Online forums became my classmates. The flickering lights in my apartment became my campus. 6 months after leaving my family, I quit the grocery store job. My freelance income had grown enough that I could survive on coffee shop wages plus design work. I was tired all the time, but I was moving forward. My client list grew. Small businesses, startup companies, even a local restaurant chain. Each project taught me something new. Each payment went into a savings account I had opened specifically for one purpose: building something bigger. I started waking up at 5 in the morning to work on projects before my coffee shop shift. I brought my laptop to work and designed during slow periods. Mr. Pacheco didn't mind as long as I helped customers when they came in. "You're different now," he said one morning, watching me work. "More focused, more determined." "I have to be," I told him. "I don't have a backup plan." He nodded knowingly. The best success stories come from people with no safety net. "You'll make it, Lena. I can tell." His words kept me going through the exhaustion and doubt. The idea for Homies came from a frustrated client named Victoria Ruiz. She was a real estate agent who hired me to redesign her business cards. During our consultation call, she spent 20 minutes complaining about how difficult it was to manage property listings. "Everything's on different platforms," she said. "Photos here, descriptions there, client information somewhere else. It's a nightmare. I spend more time organizing than actually selling houses." After we hung up, I couldn't stop thinking about her problem. What if there was a platform that put everything in one place? Property photos, descriptions, client information, scheduling, all integrated and easy to use. I knew nothing about building software, but I knew how to learn. I spent the next week researching, watching tutorials on basic coding, and sketching out what the platform could look like. The more I worked on the idea, the more excited I became. This wasn't just a freelance project. This could be something real, something that solved a genuine problem for people like Victoria. For the next year, I disappeared from the world. I kept the coffee shop job for steady income, but every other moment went into building Homies. I taught myself to code through free online courses. I designed every screen, every button, every feature. My apartment became a workspace. I covered the walls with sketches and flowcharts. My laptop ran hot for hours every night as I wrote code and fixed bugs. I lived on coffee, ramen, and the stubborn belief that this would work. Maya checked on me regularly. "Are you sleeping?" she would ask. "Sometimes," I'd reply. "Are you eating real food?" "Define real." She would sigh and bring me groceries, lecturing me about burnout. But she also understood. She had built her own business from nothing. She knew what it took. I had no contact with my family. Not a single call, text, or email. They had no idea what I was doing, where I was, or if I was even alive. Some days that hurt, most days it felt like freedom. The breakthrough came from Victoria. I had stayed in touch with her, updating her occasionally on my progress. When I finally had a working prototype of Homies, she agreed to test it. "This is incredible, Lena," she said after using it for a week. "This is exactly what I needed." My whole workflow just became 10 times easier. She told other agents in her office. They wanted to try it too. Within a month, I had 20 real estate agents using Homies. They loved it. More importantly, they told their colleagues about it. By month 3, I had 200 users. By month 6, investors started calling. Small firms at first, people who saw potential in a platform that was growing without any marketing or advertising. The product was spreading purely through word of mouth because it worked. One investor, a woman named Angela, who ran a small venture capital fund, offered me $200,000 in seed funding. I was 24 years old, sitting in a coffee shop, reading an email that could change my life. I met Angela at her office downtown, wearing the one professional outfit I owned. My hands shook as I presented Homies, walking her through features and showing her user testimonials. "You built this yourself?" she asked, impressed. "Every line of code, every design element, it's all me." She leaned back in her chair, studying me carefully. Most founders come to me with teams, with degrees from prestigious schools, with connections. You have none of that, but you have something better. You have a product that works and users who love it. The investment contract appeared in front of me. $200,000 for 15% equity. I signed it with my father's voice echoing in my head. We invest in winners, not dreamers. I whispered to myself as I signed my name, guess you missed your chance. Walking out of that office, I felt 10 feet tall. For the first time since leaving my family, I believed I had made the right choice. With Angela's investment, Homies exploded. I hired developers to help scale the platform. We added features, improved the interface, and expanded to new cities. Real estate agents across 5 states started using Homies, then 10 states, then nationwide. The growth was overwhelming. I moved into a small office space, hired a team of 8 people, and worked 16-hour days managing everything. The coffee shop job became a memory. Mr. Pacheco threw me a goodbye party, tears in his eyes as he hugged me. You did it, he said. You really did it. By year 2, Homies had 50,000 active users. Major real estate companies wanted partnerships. Tech publications wrote articles about us. I was 26 years old, running a company that was changing an entire industry. Then came the acquisition offer. A massive real estate technology corporation wanted to buy Homies for $18 million. $18 million. I read the number over and over, unable to process it. Maya screamed when I told her, "You did it! You actually did it!" I signed the papers 3 months later. After taxes and investor payouts, I walked away with $12 million. $12 million from the girl who couldn't afford $5,000 for college tuition. I bought the house 6 months after the sale. It was a glass mansion overlooking the city skyline, perched on a hill in the most exclusive neighborhood in town. 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, an infinity pool, and floor-to-ceiling windows that made you feel like you were floating above the world. The price was $6 million. I paid 40% in cash. The realtor, a Polish woman named Diane, kept staring at me during the tour. "You're quite young to be buying a property like this," she said carefully. "I worked hard for it," I replied simply. The closing took 30 days. On the day I received the keys, I stood in the empty living room, sunlight pouring through the massive windows, and cried. Not sad tears, but the kind that come when you realize you survived everything meant to break you. I had custom signs made for the front gate. Gold letters spelling out LENAPRICE. My name, my house, my victory. Maya helped me move in, which didn't take long since I barely owned any furniture yet. "Your parents live in this city, right?" she asked. I nodded. "About 20 minutes from here," she smiled. "Interesting." The call came on a Sunday afternoon 3 weeks after I moved in. I was sitting by the pool, reading a book, when an unknown number lit up my phone. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Lena?" My mother's voice sounded strange, uncertain. "Lena, is this you?" My heart hammered against my ribs. "Yes." "Oh, thank God. We've been trying to find you for 3 years. Your father and I were driving to dinner yesterday, and we passed a house in Evergreen Hills. The mailbox said price, and I thought it couldn't be. But then I looked it up, and the property records show your name, and..." She was rambling, breathless. I could picture her pacing in her kitchen, the way she did when she was nervous. "Why are you calling?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "We saw the news about your company." "The sale." "Lena, we had no idea you were doing so well. We're so proud of you. Maybe we could visit? See your new place?" "Proud." The word felt like a slap. "Proud," I repeated slowly. "You're proud now." "Of course we are. You've accomplished so much. We always knew you had potential." I almost laughed. "You said I was a dreamer. You said you invest in winners." There was a pause. "Lena, we were hard on you because we cared. We wanted to push you to succeed. Tough love, you know. And look, it worked. You proved us wrong." "I didn't prove you wrong," I said quietly. I proved myself right. There's a difference. My father's voice came through the phone now. He must have been listening on speaker. Lena, let's not dwell on the past. We're family. Families forgive and move forward. What do you say? Can we come see you? I looked out at the infinity pool, at the city sprawling below, at the life I had built from nothing. Why now? I asked. 3 years of silence? And now you want to visit? We didn't know where you were, my mother said defensively. You blocked us. You knew where I worked. You knew my email. You could have found me if you wanted to. My mother's tone shifted, becoming softer, more manipulative. We were hurt, Lena. You left without really talking to us. We gave you space because we thought that's what you needed. But we've missed you so much. Brandon asks about you all the time. That was almost certainly a lie, but I let it pass. We've had time to reflect, my father added. Maybe we were too focused on traditional success. We didn't understand your path, but we get it now. You've done amazingly well, and we want to be part of your life again. There it was. The real reason. Not because they missed me or felt guilty, because I had money now, because I was valuable in a way they could understand and benefit from. Is everything okay with you both? I asked. Financially, I mean. Another pause, longer this time. Well, my father began, the firm has hit some rough patches. The economy, you know. We're managing, but it's been challenging. Actually, we were hoping maybe you could offer some advice. Business insights from your experience. Advice. Right. They wanted money. How much do you need? I asked bluntly. Lena, it's not like that. My mother started. How much? My father cleared his throat. If you could invest maybe $50,000 in the firm, just to help us through this rough period, we'd pay you back with interest. It would really help stabilize things. $50,000. 10 times what I had needed for college. 10 times what they had refused to give me when I had nothing. And if I say no, I asked. Silence. We're not asking as business partners, my mother said, her voice taking on an edge. We're asking as your parents. Family helps family. I thought about that word, family, what it meant to them versus what it meant to me. To them, family was conditional, based on worth and return on investment. To me, family had become the people who supported me when I had nothing to offer in return. Maya, who bought me groceries when I was broke. Mr. Pacheco, who let me work on my laptop during slow periods. Angela, who believed in my idea when I was nobody. That was family. I need to think about this, I told them. I'll call you back. I hung up before they could respond. For 3 days, I wrestled with the decision. Part of me wanted to help them just to prove I was the bigger person. Part of me wanted to refuse just to watch them squirm. But both of those motivations were about them, and I was done making decisions based on my parents. I talked to Maya, who listened patiently and then said, What do you want, Lena? Not what will hurt them or help them. What do you actually want? I thought about it for a long time. What I wanted was closure. Real closure. Not anger, not revenge, just a clean ending. So I wrote them an email. I rewrote it 7 times until it said exactly what I needed to say. The email read, Mom and Dad, 3 years ago, you told me that you invest in winners, not dreamers. You said I chose the wrong path and that Brandon deserved your support because he was building a real future. Thank you for teaching me that lesson. You showed me that I couldn't rely on anyone but myself. You taught me that my worth had to come from within, not from your approval. I built homies without your money, your advice, or your belief in me. I built it with 2 jobs, a flickering apartment, and the determination to prove to myself that I mattered. You want to be proud of me now because I have money. You want to invest in me now because I'm a winner. But here's what you don't understand. I've always been a winner. I was a winner when I was sketching logos in a coffee shop. I was a winner when I was learning to code at midnight. I was a winner when I asked you for $5,000. Not because I was weak, but because I was brave enough to ask for help. You can't skip the investment and then claim the returns. That's not how family works. That's not how love works. I don't need your money. I don't need your approval. I don't need to prove anything to you anymore. I hope your firm recovers. I genuinely do. But I won't be investing in it. You made your choice 3 years ago. This is mine. Lena, I hit send before I could second guess myself. My father called within an hour. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail, his voice tight with anger. Lena, that email was completely uncalled for. After everything we did for you, raising you, giving you a home, this is how you repay us? You've become selfish and cold. Money changed you, and not for the better. Don't come crawling back when you need us. I saved the voicemail, not because it hurt, but because it confirmed everything. They hadn't changed. They were exactly who they had always been. My success hadn't transformed them into better parents. It had just revealed what they valued most. My mother sent a text. You'll regret this. Family is forever, and you're burning bridges you can't rebuild. I blocked both numbers again. Brandon sent a message through LinkedIn 2 days later. Hey sis, Mom told me what happened. For what it's worth, I always thought they were too hard on you. Congrats on everything. It was the kindest thing he'd ever said to me, but it was also 3 years too late. I didn't respond. A week after sending the email, I posted a single photo on a new Instagram account I'd created. The photo showed my front door with the gold nameplate reading LENAPRICE. The caption said simply, built with hard work, late nights, and zero handouts. To everyone who told me I was dreaming too big, thank you for the motivation. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't mention my family. But people from my past found it. Old classmates, former co-workers, even some extended family members. The post went quietly viral, shared by people who related to the story of proving doubters wrong. Comments poured in from strangers telling their own stories of overcoming family rejection and building success alone. My Aunt Helen, who I hadn't spoken to in years, commented, "Your parents are saying terrible things about you. But I remember how they treated you. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself." Other family members liked her comment. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who had noticed the favoritism. I just had been the only one brave enough to leave. Today, I'm 27 years old. I live in a $6 million house that I bought with money I earned through work that my parents called impractical. I'm developing a new platform for small business inventory management. Investors are already interested. Maya comes over every Sunday for brunch by the pool. We talk about business, life, and the families we chose instead of the ones we were born into. Sometimes I think about my parents. I wonder if they tell people about me now, if they brag about their successful daughter to their friends. I wonder if they understand what they lost. But mostly, I don't think about them at all. I stand on my balcony at sunset, watching the city lights flicker on below, and I feel something I never felt sitting at their dinner table. Peace. My phone buzzes with a message from Angela. Another investor wants to meet about my new project. I smile and type back, "Set it up." Someone once told me they invest in winners, not dreamers. They were wrong about one thing. I was always a winner. I just needed to believe it myself. And now I do.